This is a video tutorial on how to make this gecko from Gecko's Garage, complete with his hat and his spanner. So we're going to start with the gecko's leg. So I'm going to start with his foot. So I've got my red yarn and I'm going to do a double chain of 6. So if you haven't done one before, we do our slip stitch. And then we're going to use our short bit of yarn, so make sure it's not too short. I'll show you that again. So over to the back, bring your other yarn to the front. So that's 2 to the back, the other one to the front, 3 to the back, to the front, 4 to the back, to the front, 5 to the back, to the front. So that's 6. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 just gives a neater finish, and you don't get the holes like you would normally. Right, so I'm just going to pull that just a little bit longer because I'm not going to chain, and I'm going to do 4 double crochets into that first stitch. Oops, keep that out of the way. 3 and 4. I'm holding my end close to my work because I'm working over it now, and then I'm going to double crochet to the end, so that's 4 double crochets, because in the last one we're going to do 4 double crochets again. 1 2 3 4, and then back along the 4 at this side of the double chain. So you can see we don't end up with holes in our work. Right, so on this next one we're going to increase in each of those 4 from the end. So first one's always a bit trickier. 1 2 in that one. Oops. 2 in the next one. 2 in the third. And our last increase, keep that out of the way, goes into the 4th. There we go. And then our 4 double crochet again. And then 4 increases again. So 2 in that one to increase, an increase in this one, an increase in the third one, and an increase in the 4th one. Okay, so then we need to do our 4 double crochets. So we can see the sole of the foot coming along nicely now. So this time we're going to do an increase and then double crochet times 2. So let's have a look where we're going to put our, we want an increase here, double crochet back times 2, and an increase here, so we're set up perfectly. So increase in that first one, make sure you get that first one because it's really close with it jutting out. Then 2 double crochet over the next 2 stitches, increase in that middle one, 2 double crochet, and an increase. Now we might find the stitches differ slightly because we had 4 stitches which we increased on, but now we're only increasing on 3 and we changed the increase rate. So I'm just going to double crochet along. And I'm just going to check the middle one is where I'm going to increase. So I've got 2 and an increase, so I'm going to do 1 more just to make sure our increases are nicely spaced over the end of the foot. So we've done our increase. I'm doing 2 double crochets, increase in this end one, 2 double crochets, and another, just a minute, pull some yarn out. And so I've done my increase, 2 double crochets, and this one's an increase. And then I'm going to crochet back along because we can see where we started. Excuse my bracelet rattling. When I get a chance I'll take it off. So this time we're going to double crochet around in the back loop. So I'm going to go into that one. So now we're nice and a bit more level. And I'm just going to go into the back loop and double crochet all the way around. Almost there. Well, just over halfway. So you'll be able to see where the beginning is by the line of stitching just there, look. So we'll carry on up to there. See, I just need 1 more. There we go. And this time we're going to do 2 rows of just double crochet, so going back through both loops. So 2 rows all the way round. I've done those 2 rows and stopped in the same place where we started our rounds. So we've got a nice little shoe shape coming on. Now we're going to decrease to start creating that nice toe shape. And how we increased on our last one, we did an increase, 2 double crochet, increase, 2 double crochet, increase. We're going to do the same on the toe but decreasing. So we need to look at the centre 2 stitches, which we're going to decrease, 2 stitches and 2 to decrease. So you might need to pull one out or do an extra stitch, but mine's just worked out right this time, which is probably a first. So I've done a decrease. I'll show you that again in a second. 2 double crochets. Right, so to do my decrease, an invisible decrease, I take the front loop of the 2 stitches and then pull through. Make sure it's nice and tight and pull it through. I'll show you that again in a sec. 2 double crochet. So through the loop of the next one, grab the yarn, pull it through, just give it a little tug and pull it through, and it gives you a nice finish. So now we're going to double crochet all the way round back to around about the same place. So this time the decrease is going to use a few more stitches, because we're going to decrease using half trebles and trebles, but we're doing 4 treble decreases and 2 half trebles. So for 4 trebles that's 8 stitches, and for the 2 half trebles that makes 12 stitches. So we need to count 6 from the centre. 2, 4, see I've only got 5 there, so I'm just going to pull one out, to make 6, just to make sure our decreases are central. So I'm going to do half treble. So yarn over, pull yarn through that stitch, pull yarn through the next stitch, yarn over, pull it through. And then I'm going to do 4 treble decreases. So do these ones slightly different. Don't know if everyone does them the same. So yarn over, pull it, push it through, pull the yarn through, yarn over, through 2. And then I've done 2. So I'm going to yarn over and pull it through all of those. Make sure you keep it nice and tight so you don't get any holes. So again, yarn over, through the first stitch, yarn back, pull it tight, through those 2. Yarn over, through the next stitch, pull it in, yarn over, through those 2, yarn over and through those. Yarn over in the first stitch, yarn over through those 2, yarn over through the next stitch, yarn over through those 2, yarn over through the last 3. So that's 3 treble decreases. We'll do another one. Through them all, and then we've got those 2 half treble decreases. I'll do a little bit different, and then we're going to double crochet around to the beginning and then around again, finishing at the back. So we're just going around the back. So the idea being, you're going to do another row of double crochet all the way around and stop here. Right, so I've stopped near the back, and then that last stitch I'm just going to do a slip stitch. I can get my thread, slip stitch there and pull it through. I have chopped it off. I've only left a short end to sew in because we're going to finish this off. Show you how I do a nice neat finish at the back. So this stitch lies over this one, so I'm going to go around this stitch. I'm going to follow this stitch around. I'm going to go back through there, but then I'm going to go through that one that this one is supposed to be laying over. So just give it a little tug, and then look at that beautiful neat finish. And then I'm just going to pass that through, put it under. I prefer to do it from this side, from the outside, because then you can see that it's not showing. Pass that through to the middle. You don't have to cut it off if you want, you can just tuck it in as part of the stuffing. So there's our shoe. So the next bit, this is lovely and easy. I'm going to take some blue yarn and slip stitch through one of these. Well, just pull the yarn through. Slip stitch in each stitch around. So leave that tail out of the way because we'll crochet over that in a minute. So we're going to slip stitch because this will give us a lovely neat finish around the bottom of the boot, shoe, whatever it is. Got my red there. Not quite caught all the fibres of that piece. Take it out and do it again. My preferred yarn to use for toys is cotton. Cedar Stories is quite nice, but I like to use a small hook, and you tend to find that the cotton is more tightly woven and twisted. So if you haven't done this before, you're going to love this in a minute. Really easy way to get a nice neat line, and also that's not gone through the right place, not happy with that. Also kind of looks like the top of the trousers is sticking over the boot. Stay out the way, tail. and then we're going to go into that first one. And then what we're going to do now, this is really easy, we're going to double crochet through the middle of that blue one. So what you're doing is you're getting the top 2 stitches of the red as you normally would, but we're going through the middle of the blue, and you can pretty much just feel your way. It's fairly easy, although this blue yarn wouldn't tell you that. I don't think it likes me using a 2.25mm hook with it. So I'm going to continue with that, and then what I'm going to do is just go round and round and round through the top loops of the blue once I've got round this first row, and I'm going to continue around in double crochet until I've completed let's have a look on the one I've already done. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 rows. So when we've done the top row, look, you get that lovely finish. So 22 rows, and then I've cut my thread at the back. Okay. Okay, so on the first leg, we're going to fasten off. Oops, sorry. I'm going to do a slip stitch, pull it through, and sew that end in. Now it's up to you if you prefer to stuff as you go along. I won't just yet, but I will do soon. Right, so that one's going to cover that stitch, so I'm going around this one and through that one. There we go. Up through and hiding our thread under some stitches. I'm just going to tuck that inside. Sometimes if you cut it off close, then you have a messy bit that pokes out. So sometimes if I've already stuffed it, I'll push it through the other side and then cut it. Right, so that's the first one. Second leg, we're not going to cut off. We're going to carry on crocheting around. So we're going to kind of squash it so the toes are at the front. So we want to crochet back to here. Okay. So I'm going to go around. Keep going. I'll squash my foot again to make sure. I want to make sure my feet are both facing forward. We don't want wonky feet, do we? So I'll do where I think I need to. About there, probably. Yeah, spot on. So I've got my nice pointy toe. I'm going to do the same with this one. Make sure my toe is at the front. And I'm going to crochet straight across into that first stitch there. And then just go around both legs. So this will join both the legs together. Just tuck that thread down so it doesn't get in the way. And then once you've joined it together, back to here, we're going to continue until we've got 10 rows of it being joined. Just to show you the join at the back, it's exactly the same as the front. Oh, I did forget to mention, not that it really matters as long as both your legs are the same, but I had 20 stitches around each leg. But it doesn't really matter as long as they're both the same, because you don't want one leg bigger than the other. So there you go, you can see both the legs are joined, no hole. I'm just going to keep going around now until we've got 10 rows. So I've completed my 10 rows and I've stopped at this side. Well, whichever side, it doesn't matter as long as you're ready to go along the front. Obviously I'm left-handed, so I've stopped at this side. If you're right-handed, you'll have stopped at this side. Really doesn't matter as long as you're ready to go along the front. So what we're going to do now is do a few more double crochet, and then, or maybe one less, I'm going to slip stitch 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. There's 15, 16. That's middle, isn't it? 16 across the front, so I'm going to slip stitch those. 1, 2, 3, 4. This thread. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I've just got that front bit with those slip stitches. So I'm going to chain one and I'm going to work back along just those slip stitches. So just into the front bit, we need to leave these stitches unworked. I'm going to work into those soon. Four, 5, 6, that was the window cleaner shutting my door. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you can see we've still got that row there untouched. So now we're just going to chain one and work back across this row. I don't like that stitch. I won't be using this wool for this again. It's a pain. Usually one of my favourites too. Right, so keep chaining one and turning and double crocheting along the front. Okay, so I've done 8 rows and I'm not going to fasten it off just yet because I might change my mind about how long I want it. So I'm just going to flip it down out the way for now and we're going to work into these stitches here. So I'm going to, but before I do that, I'm going to add some stuff, and I've got this quite cool stuffing tool which I didn't think would ever replace my huge tweezers, but it does seem to be doing a pretty good job. So I'm just going to stuff some stuffing down. So it's easier probably to do it as you go along. I've been lazy today. Try not to overstuff. Something I tend to do because I often use cotton, so that will take a lot more stuffing because it doesn't stretch. Alright, so there's a bit of stuffing in that leg. I can probably go a bit down. I'm going to do the other leg and then we're going to do a t-shirt. So I've added a bit more stuffing, as you can see, and I'm going to join into these stitches now and double crochet around. So I think I'll join in one hiding behind the bib, of the dungarees, and I've just looped through that one, and I'm just going to start double crocheting around through those, and then when you pull that up, look, you won't be able to see it. So we're just going to double crochet round and round and round. It's almost like doing my legs again, but bigger. Just tuck that end in. Oops, sorry, gone off the screen. It's awkward now with his legs. Right, so this stitch here is the end one, so I'm going to make sure I go into that. And then, as you can see, it'll be nice coming from behind. Right, just keep going. I'll just show you this bit. So I've just double crocheted into the last stitch before the bib. And that one where the bib is a bit tricky, but if I just double crochet into that one and then into there, that'll give us a nice neat finish. So now I'm just going to double crochet around. I'll come back to you when I've done 10 rows so you can see where we're up to. So I've completed 10 rows in the yellow. As you can see, the third our stories, even though these are both supposed to be double knit, it's not quite as chunky as the blue. So I will probably do extra rows than what I would if it was the same thickness. I do like the third our stories though, it does work up nice. A bit more like the cotton. So I'm going to carry on, oops, and crochet another 6 rows. And it does sound like I'm making this up on the spot, and I kind of am, because when I looked at the pattern that I wrote last time I made one of these, I worked from the top down to do the t-shirt part and then sewed it on. And I looked at it and I thought, do you know, we can make that easier. We can just crochet it on, and a bit less sewing to do then, isn't it? And you know, I don't mind sewing bits together, but a little bit less makes it a bit easier. So I'm going to carry on until I've done 16 rows all together. Okay, so I did my 16 rows. I've actually done a little bit extra, but I've decided, looking at that, I'm quite happy with my dungarees come to. So apparently I'm going to throw my scissors on the floor. I'll get another pair. Right, so, wrong colour, that was close. Cut off my blue, and I'm going to pull that through, and I'm going to sew that in a bit. Might even use that thread to sew my button on, because this is going to have buttons on. If you're making it for a small child, you might decide either you're confident with your own work of sewing buttons on, or you might decide to crochet a little circle to cover it instead. That's completely up to you. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a couple of decrease rows. And at this end and this end, this is why I've already crocheted over a little bit, I'm going to do 3 decreases with a double crochet in between. So 3 decreases is 6 stitches I need, plus the 2 double crochets, so that's 8 stitches. So I'm just going to make sure it's nice and flat and count back 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, nice. Done it again. And then I'm going to decrease exactly how we did before. Double crochet. Turn that way, make it easier. Oops. I haven't gone through that bit, that's why. Decrease. Double crochet. And decrease. Alright, so I've done my little decrease at that end, so you can see it's already starting to curve in a little bit. I'm going to repeat, so I'm going to double crochet across, do the same decrease at this side, and then double crochet across there, ready for the next row. So I've done my decrease at this end, gone around, decrease at this end, double crocheted along, and this time over those 3 stitches on the end, No, I've done that wrong. I'm going to do 3 decreases, so that's 1, 2, 3. So I need those. I need 3 stitches from the end. See, it doesn't always work. So 1, 2. I'm just going to pull that on tight because it loosened. And get that one in. Oops. So I'm going to double crochet to the other end and do the same decreases. So I'm going to show you this the decrease at this end, just in case confused you. So 3 stitches back, because I've got 3 decreases. So I need to double crochet into that one, and then do my 3 decreases. That's 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to double crochet just short of the other end, maybe 3 stitches from the end, and we're going to fasten off and sew the top closed after we've added some more stuffing, of course. So 1, 2, 3. In fact, I'll make that last one a slip stitch, just so it's less bulky. I'm leaving a bit of a longer tail on this one. Right, I'm going to add some stuffing and I'll show you how I sew it closed. Right, it wasn't that I didn't want you to see me stuffing him, I just had to go and grab some more stuffing from the cupboard. Right, so to sew this closed, I'm going to lift this up a little bit because it's still big now. A bit like when you do the decreases, bend your legs. What we're going to do is go into these outside loops, and we're just going to loop around for, see if I can get 6 on there. Put your finger in, and that just gives you that nice neat edge. And then what we're going to do is sew up along here, leaving the remaining 6 stitches to gather up this in the same way. I don't know what I'm counting for. Alright, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'll do 2 more. So that leaves me 8. And that leaves me 6. I'll do that last one twice, just because I'm about to go around. I'll just keep it tight. So just like before, catching the outside. It'll be harder now because you're going around the loop, so I'll just pull those through and then do the other 3. Just like before, pull them nice and tight. Tuck that down somewhere else. And it's getting so big it doesn't fit underneath there now. Put your end through. What I usually like to do on children's toys is go back through, come up somewhere else, and then go along in the other direction. Especially after adding things like limbs where they might come off. Obviously that's not going to happen with the body. But then I always like to push it through to the opposite side. And you can cut that off. And you can see it a little bit, but then if you just give it a little wiggle, it disappears inside and you're not going to get that coming out. Right, so my next job, I want to make some arms and add the arms on. So here he is. He's huge. So to make the arms, we need to do start with some little fingers. I've got an arm I've already done here. I'll explain the stitch marker in a bit. So we start with 4 fingers. As you can see, I've already got 3 done. We start with light green. If I can find the end. It's here somewhere. Oh my goodness. Oops, sorry. The end did not want to be found. Right, so for the fingers, magic loop. Nice and easy. Have I done a magic loop on this? No. Right, I'll do this one slowly, because I might do it different to other people. I don't just wrap it around once, I wrap it around twice, and then I go under the first 2 loops, grab the 3rd one, twist it, grab the thread and pull it through, and then it gives you a nice secure loop. I like to pull my tail out as well. So I'm going to do 6 double crochet. Don't make that first stitch too tight or you won't be able to crochet into it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that one, and you can see these 2, this one's pulled tight. Now we need to pull this one to tighten this one up. It's fiddly, but do that and then pull that one. You have this lovely tight finish. Alright, so I'm going to work around my end into the first stitch, and I'm going to increase in that one. So what I'm going to do is increase, then double crochet, oops, then increase in that one, double crochet, still working around my tail, increase, and double crochet. Alright, so I'm going to snip my tail off. Right, so next row we're going to do a decrease row. So we'll just do 2 stitches, so 2 double crochets. Sorry, it could have been any stitch. Let me move it out of the way, that's going to annoy me. Then we're going to do our magic decrease over the next 2, so through those front loops, pull it through, make sure it's nice and tight. There we go, and a double crochet in the next 2. And then decrease over the next 2. There we go. Then I'm going to do a slip stitch and fasten off, oops, just the way we've done before. So remember, lay it over, it's clearly going over that one, so I want to go over the next one. It's not quite as easy to get through that other stitch on this one, but try your best. There we go, we've got a nice neat finish there. That did not want to go through. It's because these are the decreased stitches, so they're a little bit tighter. If you go on the row below, it'd be a lot easier, which I think is what I did on all the others. And then I'm just going to bring that up in the middle, chop it off. Right, so you are going to make 4 of these exactly the same, but on the last one you're not going to fasten it off on the end of the green bit. So on this one I'm just going to pull my yarn through. I want a bit of a longer tail than that, and I'm going to just double crochet around until I've done 5 rows, and we should have, I think it's 7 stitches, because we increased to 9 and then decreased 2. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just chop that end off. Just double check there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go into that first one where I slip stitched through and just double crochet around until you've done 5 rows in the dark green. Okay, so now we've got our fingers. We're going to double crochet 2, and the other ones we fastened off in the exact same way as everything else. And we're going to love this because we are just going to, just like we did with the legs, and you're going to crochet around half of it. And then on this one, we're not going to join the thumb yet. So we're going to crochet, oops, sorry, all the way around this one. Forgot I've moved my camera to get the whole body in. So it seems fiddly, it's just the bits getting in the way. Right, so that's the last stitch on that one. So then I went into that stitch, so next stitch along. God say it's one of my favourite ways to join. Oops. Alright, we've done that one, haven't we? Yep. Been in that one. If you are worried that you think like that one, I think maybe it's a bit loose, you could just do a little old style decrease across that one and the next one, and then it just tightens it all up. In fact, I've missed a stitch there, look. What am I like? Too busy thinking about the next one. Likewise with that one though, you could do it as like a little decrease into the first stitch of there. If you're just worried that sometimes you're going to get a bit of a hole, just go into that stitch as well and just treat it like a little decrease, and then it just closes it all up nicely. We're not actually adding, we're adding stuff into the hands, but we're not bothering to push it down into the fingers. So this time we're going to double crochet, because we've joined them all together. We're going to go all the way around, but this time we're going to increase. So I'm going to do an increase here and an increase at this end, and then we're just going to double crochet apart from that, back to the start. That one's a bit loose. Excuse me, I have an essential tremor, which sometimes means my hands, especially my left one, doesn't do what I want it to do. Usually it's at its calmest when I'm crocheting, but occasionally when I'm doing like decreases and stuff, you'll notice I drop the stitch. And sometimes picking, oops, I forgot to do my increase then, I'm so busy talking. So just going to the end. It could be either of them, it doesn't really matter. So I'm doing it in that one. So 2 into there. Ooh. Oh, I haven't pulled it through on that one. Right, so I'm back round at the beginning of the row. I'm collecting yellow yarn along the way. So our fingers are well joined up. We've double crocheted round, doing an increase at each end. So now we're going to double crochet round for a couple of rows. So let's do 2 rows all the way round. my green yarn was wanting to dip into my empty teacup. Oh, that sounded like I had a proper teacup then. It's just a mug that had tea in it. Right, I'm going to pause and carry on, so you want to get back around to here twice. Okay, so I have done those 2 rows, and we're going to start joining the thumb on this next row. So we're going to double crochet. It doesn't really matter which end it's at, but we're going to double crochet to the other end. And then we're going to crochet the thumb on, but only using a couple of the stitches. So I'm going to look for my end 2 stitches. What we're going to do is we join them over 2 rows, so we're going to go through 2 stitches, so a stitch there and a stitch there of the thumb and the hand, and then the next stitch, oops, and the next stitch on the hand. So we've double crocheted 2 stitches of the thumb and 2 stitches of the hand, and we'll do these next stitches on the next row. So we're just going to go all the way back round to the thumb. So I'll meet you at the thumb. Right, so I'm at the thumb. I've just stopped before the stitch where we joined the thumb on the previous round, so I'm going to go into the next stitch of the thumb. And then twizzling around and work through the thumb stitches. Fiddly, but not too bad. A lot better than sewing them all on individually. Right, and then we worked into that one, so we're going into this stitch. And we're going to crochet back to the end of this row. Right, at the end of this row we're going to do a decrease. And then we're going to do a decrease above the thumb. Just starting to bring the hand in. So working around all those stitches as though it's always been there. Decrease there. And back round to the beginning of the round. And then what we need to do is we need to do our little pad in the palm of his hand, or whatever you choose to call his appendage. So there we go, that's us back at the beginning. So this is where, not so much on your first one, but on your second one, it's important to know which hand is which. So as you can see, I've got my thumbs pointing to each other, so this is going to go on here. And all we're going to do is another one of these magic rings. So 6 stitches. Oops. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull that end tail. Let's pull that out. So pull the shorter one again. Tighten it up. Pull this one. And we're just going to increase in each stitch around. So we've got 6 and we want to end up with 12. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and as before I'm going to slip stitch into that next one, cut my length, leaving some to sew it on, cut the tail from starting because we've crocheted around that, so that's not going to come undone. And then I'm going to sew him to the palm. Okay, so that's sewn on the opposite hand. So now we need to decrease down for our wrist. So what we're going to do is we're going to decrease and then double crochet and continue that until we've got 16 stitches remaining. So you're just going to keep going until you're down to 16 stitches. Can't remember what I've just done then. Decrease, double crochet, decrease, a little bit awkward around where your thumb's been joined. Oop. Decrease, double crochet, decrease, double crochet. Let's have a check, see how we're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, I didn't need that last decrease, look. Hey, what am I like? So now we're going to double crochet around. I've just checked. It's 12 stitches, not 16. So I'm going to keep going. So that's down to 15. I just thought my arm on my other arm looked a bit thinner. So that's down to 14. Oops. Double crochet. No, not happy with that one. Didn't quite pick it all up. That should be 13. And this one should be 12. There we go, that looks better. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's right. So now we're going to double crochet around. And what I'm going to do, you might notice the stitch marker in the other one. I'm going to take that out and swap it to this one. And get over this thumb. Squidge him round. Gets easy, I promise. Right, so I'm going to place my stitch marker between my row of double crochet and my decrease row. There we go. So instead of it going that way, I'm putting it this way so that you can see the row. And then I'm going to double crochet around until we've got 18 rows after the stitch marker. So you're just going to keep going round and round and round until you've got 18. Then I'll meet you, but we're going to change to yellow. So I'll see you soon. So I've completed the 18 rows after the stitch marker, so I can take that out now. And I've done 6 rows in yellow. I've just done a normal colour change. Haven't bothered because we're going to cover it with our sleeve cuff. So I'm going to show you how to make that now. We're going to start with a double chain of 15, so I'm making sure I've got a little bit longer on my tail end. And then, if you remember, we wrap forward to the back with the tail end and then back to the front with the working yarn. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're going to do a chain 1, but keep it nice and tight, and we're going to slip stitch in the back loop along the row. So just slip stitch in along the row right to the end. Got that round the gecko's feet then. So keep going. Nearly there. Not happy with that one, just redo that. And into the end one. Oh, just realised I've just double crocheted those ones, got carried away. Get that used to doing double crochets. Alright, so nearly there again. So slip stitch into the last one, and then I'm going to do chain 1, keep it tight, and I'm going to go back along in that back loop again, and I'm going to repeat that so that I've got 4 rows in all. Okay, so after 4 rows it looks like this, and we're going to attach it covering our hand. You may need to stretch it a little bit. Oh, get out of the way. Right, so it could have got wrapped anywhere, it did. So I'm going to sew this. Well, I've done this one tighter than the last one. I have just put a lot of stuff in it actually. There we go, it'll pull round. So I'm just stitching through, slide it down a little bit just to cover that colour change. There we go. So, oops, don't want to go through that bit. Pulling it in. And then through there, and it's tight enough that it shouldn't really move around. If you want to put a few extra stitches in, you can, but you don't have to, because it isn't going to come off the bottom of his hand, and it certainly ain't going to come off the top once it's sewn to the body. So that's completely up to you. I'm just going to do that, put it through the middle and chop it off. There. We've got 2 arms ready to go on our body. Time to tackle those dungaree straps. So I'm going to show you how to make them fit snugly and how to sew them in so you get a nice neat finish. So I've done a double chain. I've done 27. So to make sure you get a snug fit, you want to measure from just the top of your dungarees around to there, and that wants to be nice and snug. you might need a stitch or two less or a stitch or two more. So next thing to do is I'm just going to pull that a little bit looser, and I'm going to double crochet all the way to the end. I'm at the end of that double chain. What we're going to do now is create our loop to attach it to the button, like this one, look. So I started off, I did an 8 chain on this one, but the gap was too big, so I pulled it out a little bit. So I worked out I needed 7 chain, depends on the size of your button. 4, 5, 6, 7. And then all I'm going to do is double crochet back along the other side. But yeah, so I did on the first one, like I said, I did 8 chain, did a couple of stitches, tried it over the button, it was a bit loose, so I just pulled it out, pulled a stitch out, and then redid it. So got to the end, pull my thread through, thread it onto the needle, and what I'm going to do is loop that over my button first. Sorry, these are the things that I find the trickiest. Pull this over to the back, make sure it's nice and evenly lined up with the other strap. And then what I'm going to do is, see these V's, it's a bit like sewing up knitting, so I'm going to go under these 2, so one from each V, and then just go across at the top, and the second part of that V and the first part of the next V, and then across to the next bit, and then second part of that V and the first part of the next one, back through the loops at the end, and there we go. And it just gives you a neater finish than the normal sewing, so it looks like it's always been part of that fabric. So no dungarees would be complete without the little pocket to put your tools in. So I've started with a double chain of 6, and I'm just going to pull it slightly. I'm going to work over my tail, and I'm going to do 2 double crochet into the first stitch, double crochet along, oops, three, 4, and then increasing that end one. And I'm going to chop that tail off. And I'm going to turn. I'm not going to chain 1, I'm just going to pull that up slightly. And then I'm going to increase in the first stitch again. Double crochet across. Making sure you get right into that end stitch where we increased, and we're increasing in that one. And then we're going to turn. You can see it's starting to go out a little bit, so I'll pull that up a little bit, increase in the first stitch, double crochet across, and then we're going to increase in that last stitch again. So we can see this is our little pocket. So we're going to do 3 rows of double crochet now. So turn it, pull it up slightly, and double crochet. So here's my pocket. So what I'm going to do now is crochet all the way around. So I'm going to pull up, and this is going to go the whole way around. So what I'm going to do is when I get to the corners and the bendy bits, I'm going to do little increases just to keep it so it lies nice and flat. So there, look, I've worked into the end stitch. I'm going to do an extra stitch in that same one to take it round the corner, working just along the side. Actually doesn't need any increases on this bit, but it will for this corner. So 2 into that corner stitch. That's not even my corner stitch. There, look. 2 into that corner stitch. Double crochet across. 2 into that corner stitch. And then sloping up this side in the end of the rows. And do an extra one in there. Leave a nice long tail to sew it. So I'm going to finish that off and sew that on. So as you can see, I put some pins in my pocket and pinned it so that it was a little bit baggy. So I don't need these pins now because I've stitched it. But I've just left it a bit baggy so that when we've done his spanner, it'll fit in there. I don't want it to be too tight, especially if we've got a little child who get frustrated. So next thing he's got missing is his tail. So I've already made a start. So I've done 7 double crochet into a magic ring. And all I'm going to do is double crochet around and around and around until is the length I want. So you can choose what length you want your tail. I'll show you when I've done mine how many rounds I used. Okay, so I've sewn his tail on and I've not done it flat, I've done it around. Now if you want to know how I sew things like this on, I've got a separate video. It's a rabbit and I'll show how I sew the head on and pin it and everything, so have a look at that if you want. The other way you can do it, and you can do your arms like this too, it'll make them stick out more, but I've chosen on this one, if you're putting wire in you will need to do that. On this one I've chosen to do a flat stitch so that he's got nice floppy arms. Oops, sorry. The only thing I would make sure is that when you sew his arms on, his thumb is facing up. Make sure that both of his arms are the right way around.